Good morning, students. Our today's chapter is staffing. We have already completed chapter number 5, organizing. And after organizing, the next function which comes into existence of management is that of staffing. Now, students, we all have learned that always the management function, it begins with planning. Once the plans are made about what is to be done, how it is to be done, by whom it is to be done, where it is to be done, to achieve the objectives, once things are laid down in advance, we see that according to whatever plans have been made, the framework is created so that the resources and activities which have to be performed in the organization to achieve the organizational goals as per the plans, that can be achieved. So after planning the organizing function, it helps in determining the activities which needs to be performed and also the resources, how they can be optimally utilized. So within the framework which has been set through the organizing function, we see that the staffing function immediately comes into existence after organizing. Because staffing is one such function which is related with filling the posts which has been created in the organization structure. After the organizing function has been performed, it has been decided about the various levels which has been created in the organization structure which has to be filled. And that is done by the staffing function. But filling the posts is not an easy work, because it is not that any person can be appointed to any place in the organization. There should always be right kind of people who have to work at the right place at the right time in the right manner. Then only the objective which is set can be achieved. That is why staffing function is considered as very important function of management in any organization. Narayan Murthy, the CEO of Infosys, he has given a statement and he said that our assets walk out of door every evening and we have to make sure that they come home the next morning, because human beings or human resources, they are considered as the most valuable asset in any organization. It is only human beings, if they are competent and capable enough working in the organization, they will be making use of the other resources to the best possible extent. And that is why once the posts they have been created in the organization, to fill in, it has to be filled with competent people who are capable of working in the best possible manner towards achievement of organizational goals. That is why we see that once the jobs are created by the organizing function, because organizing function is basically related with creating a framework which lets the organization decide about the posts which has to be filled in. So once the organization performs that organizing function, the next managerial function is related with filling and keeping filled. There are two words which have been used. One is filling and another is filling, keeping filled. it has to be filled once the vacancies arises in the organization, and after the vacancy arises, if it is filled, that is not something which has been done permanently. Continuously, whenever the vacancy arises, it has to be again filled. Then only the work will be performed properly. So it says that filling and keeping filled, this is something which is very important. The various positions of the organization structure is called planning. But whenever we say filling and keeping filled, always it is said that staffing is the process, it is the process of finding the right person with the right qualification at right time and right place for doing the right job. Because if the vacancies arises in the organization and it has to be filled, it has to be filled with right person with right qualification, that means one who is capable of working at right time at right place for doing the right job. Then only justice can be given to the work, which can be performed as per the expectations to achieve the goals. And that is why staffing is something which includes number of activities, and those activities are related with manpower planning. We'll be learning in detail. Manpower planning is basically related with estimation of manpower requirements, recruitment, selection, training, compensation, performance appraisal, promotion and maintenance of managerial personnel, etc. So there are so many number of activities which is related with human resources, which is carried out under this function in the organization. And if these activities are properly carried out, always it gives good result. So it is considered to be something which is very, very important. Also, staffing is the process of obtaining, maintaining and utilizing. Obtaining, because there are people available all around you, but you have to obtain the right person. After obtaining, you have to utilize those people properly. Utilization is always something which is very important, because if you don't utilize the ability and competency of a person in a proper manner and satisfy a person, there is always a possibility that the employee may leave your organization. So there is always a need that you obtain from a proper source the right person and utilize that person properly, so that it gives the person the maximum satisfaction and you are able to maintain the manpower needs which the organization has in order to complete the work which is there for the achievement of the organizational goals. So these three terms, OMU, obtaining, maintaining and utilizing capable and competent people to fill all positions from top to bottom level in the organization. So basically we can conclude in one line, you can say that staffing is the process of finding the right person for the right job in the organization, so that a person is able to work and give the results. Now, scope of staffing. Now it is not only related with filling the posts which has been generated. I already told you, when we say staffing, it is related with so many number of activities associated with human beings or human resources which is carried out in the organization. so that the organization properly obtains, maintains, and utilizes the competent and able person. Because if competent able persons, they are not properly obtained, maintained, and utilized, we see that the organization and its activities will not be performed in a proper manner. So, for that, for obtaining, maintaining, and utilizing competent and capable manpower force in the organization, there are so many number of other activities which is carried out in the organization, which makes the scope of staffing function certainly quite elaborative, that we are going to learn, and its scope has widened over time. We are going to compare how its scope has changed over time, and this staffing function has evolved, and today it has taken the form of HRD, human resource management, or human resource department is there, which carries out the staffing function in big organization. So let us understand, keeping in mind the scope, how it has evolved and how it has changed over time. So we start with the earlier scope of staffing. Earlier, when this staffing function, which was considered as a part of management function, it was carried out in the organization. Earlier, staffing was carried out as a routine activity in the organization. That is, after planning and organizing, immediately the third function is that of staffing, which comes into existence, in which the various positions which has been created in the organization structure, that is filled through staffing by performing the staffing function, and that is what is called the routine function. That is why it has been written here. Earlier it was limited only to filling job positions, because after our planning and organizing, the third management function was staffing, which had to be carried out, and basically it focused on filling the job positions. But over the period of time, we have seen that the scope of this staffing function has also widened, and today, when we say today, it is considered as a modern concept of staffing. Its scope has widened, and it includes so many number of activities apart from this routine activity of only filling the job position. Earlier it was only filling the job positions. Now there are so many number of activities which has increased over time, and which includes, we have already learned earlier, manpower planning, recruitment, selection, training and development, performance appraisal, compensation, providing congenial working conditions, promotion, maintenance of personnel. So all these activities, they are all part and parcel of staffing function, which is carried out in all the organization, whether it is a small organization or a large organization. But what happens, because this is related with a specialized field of activity, that is why we see that for this specialists are required, and large organizations have a separate department to carry out staffing function known as human resource department. This, although staffing function in the modern way which is being recognized today, it is carried out even in the small organizations, but large organizations, they are carrying out this specialized activity by creating a separate department which is called the human resource department, and there this activity, which includes number of activities of staffing, it is carried out in the organization under human resource department. But in small organizations, we see that all these activities, numerous activities, they are carried out as a staffing function today in the modern era. So we see that its scope has widened over time. Now it is not only limited to filling the job positions, but also number of other activities, they are being performed today. Now our next heading is need of staffing. Staffing is something which is essential and it is indispensable. We cannot go away with it. So it is needed in both new and existing organization. Whether it is a new organization which has started or it is an old organization or an existing organization. How is staffing function performed in a new organization? In a new organization, after planning and organizing function, staffing function comes into existence to fill vacancies created by organization structure. Now that means in the new organization, staffing, because the organization has come into existence, it is a new organization, so the routine management functions, as a routine management functions, it is carried out after planning and organizing. Immediately the third function of staffing, that is carried out to fill in the various positions which is lying vacant and it has been created by the organization structure, so it has to be filled in by competent people. But in case of old organizations or in case of existing organizations, also staffing is a valuable function, because staffing in case of existing organization, it is a continuous process. Sometimes it is asked, is staffing a continuous process or staffing is a continuous process? Comment. Such types of questions are asked. So in case of existing organization, staffing is a continuous process because of two reasons. First, because new jobs may be created for expansion and diversification. If it is an existing organization, time and again we see that new vacancies come into existence in case of expansion and diversification. Also, new vacancies arises in the organization when some of the existing employees leave the organization due to different reasons. So if it is an existing organization, there are chances that the employees may switch over from time to time and vacancies may be created in the organization that has to be filled, which is a part of staffing function. Because earlier we had learned that staffing, that is related with filling and keeping filled. It is not that once it has been filled, it is over. It has to be repeatedly filled whenever the vacancy arises, and this situation will only come in case of existing organization. In case we see that there is diversification or in case there is expansion of the organization and the vacancies arises, or there may be employees who may be leaving the organization because of which the vacancies arises and those vacancies have to be immediately filled, then only the work can be carried out smoothly and the objective or the target which has been set, that can be achieved. So with this we have completed the introduction part of staffing. Our next heading will be importance of staffing. Till then, thank you.